tonight. He is on stage at the Richmond Theatre. Good evening to you, Richard. Thank you so much for waiting there for us. Tell us about this one-man show that you're doing this evening. You're talking about your life and your career, aren't you?
Yes, and it's based on a memoir that I published called A Pocket Full of Happiness, which is what my late wife charged my daughter and I to do 4 days before she died, so try and find a pocket full of happiness in each day after my death. So that's what the memoir is based on, and a one-man show is the result of that.
It's been, what is it, a few years since your dear wife, Joan, passed. Do you feel her
18 months.
As you've done this, as you've gone through this process?
Yes. What the sort of thing is about bereavement and death is that most people do anything not to talk about it and to avoid the subject or to avoid mentioning the person who has died. So in doing this show and publishing a memoir, it's a way of keeping her very much alive and present in my conversation and with other people. So it's been amazingly cathartic and helpful.
What are the highlights that you talk about from your career? And I imagine there are plenty of laughs, aren't there?
Oh yeah. I've been following obsessively the career of Barbra Streisand since I was 12 years old in 1969. So that forms part of the show, and also the Oscar circuit that I was on 4 years ago for Can You Ever Forgive Me with Melissa McCarthy was an extraordinary, rags to riches kind of great progress through celebrity.
Didn't Joan work with Barbra Streisand on Yentl?
Yes, she did. It was the first film that Barbra Streisand had directed and produced, and it was the first film that Joan worked on. So she had a predominantly female crew on it as well back in 1982. So yes, our connections go back a long way.
I mean, that's the wonderful thing, isn't it? Because Joan had this fantastic career. For those who don't know, she was a voice coach, and she worked with Barbra Streisand, as we just mentioned, Vanessa Redgrave, Emma Stone. And she and you have spoken really honestly about shifting power dynamics in a relationship and what happens as people's successes change over the years. And actually, although you live this extraordinary life, that is something most couples can relate to, I suppose.
Yeah, well, when I first met her, she was the person that was the most successful in her career, always working with the top rank of actors. And I was a waiter in Covent Garden. And then subsequent to Whitney and I coming out in 1987, my career progressed at some speed, and I ended up being visibly, to the public, much more well-known, whereas Joan remained in the top of her profession, but essentially backstage in the theatre. So she had to contend with people pushing her out of the way to get to me, so she found that very galling. I understand that.
Well, I imagine she did. I mentioned in my intro to you, Richard, the King helped when Joan was ill, and Nigella Lawson sent dinners round on a Sunday. What did you learn about people while Joan was ill and after her passing? What did it show you about people?
I think more than anything, you find out who your true friends are, and 99% were and have been extraordinarily compassionate, kind and considerate. And then there's that 1% that you will never forget, and in my case will never forgive, who literally fall off the cliff face and will cross the road rather than speak to you about it. So as far as I'm concerned, they're dead meat.
But is that really the case? People avoided you, Richard?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I know from being on social media that this is a very common occurrence when people are bereaved, that people will either do everything in their power not to talk about the person that has died, or just avoid you completely. Or people that you thought were great friends turn out not to be quite the friends that you thought that they were. But that's a tiny minority.
No, and you are talking about happiness. The memoir and the show is called A Pocket Full of Happiness, and it's made me very happy to speak to you. Richard E. Grant, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
The Lionesses' World Cup squad has been announced, and Arsenal and England star striker Beth Mead is not in it. Mead was the top scorer in the Euros last year, but misses out after not recovering in time from a serious injury. She joins captain Leah Williamson and Chelsea's Fran Kirby on the sidelines. Head coach Serena Weekman said they would have to take too many risks by having Mead on the team.
But she's so positive and she's going really well. But we said the time schedule she had, we would have taken so many risks to try and get her to the World Cup. And also she had a personal situation too, so that all added that very shortly or very early we said, well, we're not going to take that risk. I'm not willing to take that risk to push her too much and then she gets injured again.
Right, so on to the weather. It's been a bit cool and overcast out there today, but what's it going to be like as we head very slowly towards the weekend? Here's Kerry Gosney with the forecast.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Optimus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello, very good evening to you. After a cloudy start this morning, the cloud lifting and thinning, giving us some brightness for the afternoon. Essentially, high pressure is in charge for another week ahead, so a lot of dry weather to come for the rest of the week and into the weekend. But yes, potentially some cloudy mornings, but feeling nice and warm and pleasant in the sunshine where we do get it, especially in the afternoon. And this was pretty much the case across the region today. After that cloudy start, the cloud thinning and breaking up and pushing northwards, so we saw increasing amounts of sunshine. So some bright spells to end daylight hours today, but the cloud is thickening and pushing back in from a northeasterly direction along a fairly light but fairly fresh northeasterly breeze overnight tonight. Could be a little bit of dampness out of any thicker cloud towards dawn, very similar compared to this morning, and lows around 9 or 10 Celsius, so nothing too chilly overnight tonight. So don't be too disappointed with the cloudy start first thing in the morning. We're expecting that cloud to thin and then back northwards a little bit more quickly than it did across the region today. So as we head into the afternoon, again in the sunny spells, highs of 20 or 21, 17 Fahrenheit, and just that light northeasterly breeze. We stick with a northeasterly flow over the next week ahead, a high UV sunburn risk, but a good dose of sunshine too.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Optimus Electric Vehicles. Hello, summer. Here is sponsors ITV pollen count.
Well, the grass pollen has really got going now. It's high across most parts of the region over the next few days, for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Take care, have a lovely evening. See you soon.
Finally tonight, the sari has been around for thousands of years. It was originally a humble item of clothing from northwest India, but over time expensive materials and vibrant colours have been woven in. At the Design Museum in Kensington, there's a new exhibition on this old favourite. Daniel Henry went to have a look.
Every sari has a story.
For many members of the South Asian diaspora in the UK, the sari is something they perhaps found in their grandmother's wardrobe, something that sparked curiosity, something we thought was very elegant and beautiful.
Now they have a stage. Some of these pieces have never been seen in this country before. Creel says they deserve a spotlight in the council. Putting this exhibition together